Welcome! In this video, we're going to do a solo playthrough of Thunder Rolls, designed by Richard Launius and published by Mr. B Games. So down at the table for a quick summary, this is a stock car racing game for 1 to 8 players. And just to let you know, instead of painting the cars that came with the game, I'm just using some Matchbox cars in their place. But in this game, we are going to be going through 2 phases and 2 interludes, all trying to get to the front of the pack on here. So during our rolling phase, we're going to be rolling dice, breaking those up into sets depending on what numbers were rolled. Then we'll choose a set to put on an action space to perform that action. Once we've allocated all of our dice and done those actions, we'll move into the rewards and penalties interlude. In which case, depending on how our dice were placed up here, we are going to take cards assigned to each of these actions, which would be Thunder cards. Then in the Thunder phase, we'll be taking 4 of these cards, placing them in basically a programming order, and we'll be going through using those abilities and moving forward, racing to get to the front of the pack. And of course, finishing off with the scoring phase. But in a one-stage race, it's just going to be whoever's the furthest is going to be the winner. So for our setup in the center of the board, we're going to take our speed cards. Basically, they are not quite as good as Thunder cards, but in case we don't end up with 4 Thunder cards, we'll take from this stack. Then our Thunder cards, give them a shuffle. Then each action space, which we'll go over a little further in a little bit, we'll have 3 of these cards to potentially be a prize. So we'll put 3 in each spot and go over each of those shortly. Then we've got some hazard cards, which we're going to do our best to avoid, which is just going to have some negative effects to us. Then we have some crew chief cards, which are going to give us some bonuses throughout the game if we get some of these. And then we have our non-player driver action cards. So whenever any of the other 7 cars activate, depending on the phase, it's going to let us know if they activate their special ability, and then how far they're going to be moving. And I'm doing a standard game, so we'll not be using the weather or the advanced rules for this one. And of course, we're going to choose one of our races, which is going to give us our special rules. So for this one, whenever we do a crossover, each time you perform a crossover move 1 space. Hazard, body damage. The body damage penalty is ignored on hazard cards. These give us effects for on our track. So we've got orange circles or triangles and blue triangles. And in this game, no effect for either. This is letting us know it's a 1-stage race in which we'll be rolling all 8 of our dice. Then on the back is just some flavor text, basically, letting us know we're in Denver, Colorado. The Beacon 400 is fast, really fast. Need to get out front early, possibly trading paint if you want to win. It's an oval track, so it's letting us know which board we have. This is a dual-sided board. The stage, and I believe that's a misprint, supposed to be a half-mile oval short track. So we've got 2 levels of drivers. We have our ace drivers with that symbol and hearts for our rookies. I'm going to be using the rookies. Basically on here, it's just got some flavor text on the back. Name, their special ability when the symbol comes up on their action cards. And they don't roll dice. They'll just have a random die roll listed right here for us. And for the initial setup of the vehicles, these cards do have qualifying numbers on them, but when you're playing true solo, they do recommend you go ahead and shuffle this up and assign 1 to each of the cars, so you're not going to have the exact same setup every time you play. So go ahead and deal 1 to each of the other teams, and then we're going to take 2 and keep 1. So we're either going to start near the back of the pack or somewhere in the center. So these are going to give us abilities. Thunder phase, we'll get 1 crossover for free, or you can go near the back of the pack. Thunder or rolling phase, after rolling, change 1 of your dice to any number. We're going to take the 8. I want to start all the way in the back of the pack. So we'll go ahead and flip the rest of these over for our qualifying positions. And it looks like we're going to be at the back of the pack anyway. Yep, 1 car is starting further back than us. All right, yellow is going to be in the top position. Then we've got Team Purple. Team blue, then white, and red, and black. Then we squeeze in, and orange. So we'll go ahead and keep this card. It's going to give us a one-time benefit. The rest of these can go back in the box. And these cards we're going to shuffle up. It's going to create a random order, and throughout the game we're always going to activate in that order. But we are going to be considered the leader, so it's always going to be the human player, not the AI. And with our team green, we have this, so at any time we can flip this to reroll any number of dice. Then on this side, I basically have to take the flip tile or the pit stop to flip this back over, so we need some service. And in the solo game, they want you to use this to cover up the third ranking in all the locations. Instead of just having something down there I'm going to be knocking around, just know there's a first and second. Third is not an option. So basically on our turn, like I said, we're going to be rolling our dice, and then we're going to put those in sets. Then whenever you spin to use an action, you're using all the dice of that number. So if we were taking a pit stop, we put all 3 dice there. That's going to limit our number of actions. If you're playing multiplayer, you definitely want more opportunities, so you probably definitely want to use single dice. But playing solo, it's probably not going to matter as much. So let's go over the actions real quick and then look at our cards for each area. So our first action space is the pit stop. So if we put 1s on this one, that allows us to flip our need service side card over back to our fresh tire, so we have our reroll ready. Also, at the end, after we place all the dice, drivers without at least 1 die in the pit stop draw a hazard card. So we definitely want 1 here. And our thunder cards are all going to be face down in this area. Then our number 2 action spot, Rubbin is Racing. We get to crossover or side draft, then move 1 space. So for crossovers, before or after moving, change places with an adjacent car. In the side draft, before or after moving, move a car beside you backward 1 space. This can cause other cars to move back 1 space. And all 3 of those crossover cards are going to be face down. Then our number 3 action spot, the low line, just move 1 space. If you did not win a priority position here, at the end of the phase, we're going to move 2. And one of these cards is going to be face up. So you can see we've got a movement of 3 with a draft possibility. Then our number 4 crew chief action. Move 1, retrieve a die from any other action space, or draw a crew chief card. And we'll have 2 cards face up on this one. So we've got hazards here. So if we take these cards, we'll have to roll a d6 for each hazard. On a roll of 1, we actually get a hazard card. So work the pack or wrecker or checker abilities. Then action space 5, the high line, we get to draft. And drafting is before or after moving. If a car is directly in front of or behind you, move both cars 1 space. And we've got 1 card face up on this area, so 4 with a crossover. And 6 action space, the grooves. Just move 2, and all 3 of these are face up. So got 6s with hazards, a crossover, and a side draft, and clean air. And these checkered symbols on that at the end of when we're placing those for our programming, whenever we get our checkered flags matched up, that's going to get us an additional 2 movement at the end of the game. And also over here, I have, for playing solo or with 1 to 3 players, you've got the fake dice rolls for our other players. So we've got blues and reds. So basically, we're just going to randomize those, and they will come out before we go into the non-player actions phase. Then zooming out to our big map, just one other thing to go over. We have a moving guide for NPDs or non-player drivers. This is a guide. We're going to try to place our cars in the best position they can go. So their guides are, they'll always move their maximum movement. They never break, and will always push if there is an open space to move into. So basically, if there's cars in the section in front of you need to go through, you're going to push through and roll dice. If they're equal, you actually have to slam on your brakes and you go back to spaces. The NPDs will always move on the racing groove, which is the tire tracks, if possible. They're always in their movement in a draft position, so they want to get in line in front or behind another car if possible, and that does override the groove section. They'll use special rules, which this racetrack does not have any special rules, so no effects there. I always choose the inside lane and move outward when determining maneuvers like crossover and side draft. And when drafting with the car in front and behind, the NPD will always draft with the car in front of them, meaning they do not pull along the vehicle behind them. So with that, we are ready to get started here. So unfortunately, we go first. So we're going to roll all of our dice, break those out into our sets. So we've got a 2, 2 threes, couple 4s, and 3 5s. So if we want this to go quick, we could set these over here, which would have us draft. So we're going to spin the 2. That's going to allow us to do a crossover or a side draft, then move 1. Of course, if we do a crossover, each time we perform a crossover, we get to move another space. So the crossover, before or after moving, change places with an adjacent car. Of course, we're doing the crossover first. We're going to swap places with the red car, and then move twice. We're going to move here and then there. Now, each of the other drivers are going to go after we place some random dice here. So we're putting a 3 in that location. And then we'll take one from the red, which is also going in that area. Then each of our drivers are going to activate. So Team Black wants to draft, and he's going to choose the vehicles in front of him to do that with. So they'll all move forward, and that guy is stuck behind. Then Team Orange wants to use his ability, then move a space. So he has a side draft ability. And that's going to be bad for the red player. He's already been moved back once before. So before or after moving, move a car beside you backward 1 space. This can cause other cars to move back a space. So he's moving red car backwards. Then he moves up a spot. Then Team Red just going to move up 1. Then Team Blue wants to do a crossover. We're going to say he wants to go in the outside lane, and then after he does a crossover, movement of 1. Then Team Yellow wants to use their ability and then move 1. So in this phase, they're just going to do one of their abilities if they have 2. So he wants to draft if he can do that, which he can. So he's Blue, got lucky, gets pushed up 1. Then he moves a space. He'll go to the outside. Then we've got Team White, wants to do a crossover. And that's going to be with me. And move up a spot because of the racetrack special ability. Then Team Purple wants to draft and then do the special ability, which is draft and move a spot. So drafting once, drafting again, then moving 1 right there. All right, so that was the team's turn. Then it's going to be back to us. All right, 1, we got 2 1s, 2 2s, 3 4, and a 6. We're going to go with going into the groove and just move 2. Then place a blue one in the 1 spot. And red goes in the 2 spot. Then back to activating our drivers. So Black wants to just move 2 spaces. Orange wants to do a crossover, which is me, so I'm moving further backwards. Actually, no, I'm not. I moved that car when I shouldn't have. I'm green. Me moving 2 would have been that. All right, so orange is trying to do a crossover. Doesn't have anyone to do it. So in the rolling phase, if they don't do an action, they do move 1 space. Then team red is trying to do a side draft. No one to do that with, so moving 1 space. Team blue wants to draft, just choosing the vehicle in front of him. Team yellow, special ability and move 1. So yellow wants to draft. No one to do that with, so then it can try a side draft. So it's going to move this car backwards, which is going to move that one backwards. Then move 1 space. I think it probably wants to be in that area. Then team white, that I've already tried to move for me, wants to do a side draft, which is going to move just me backwards. Then it wants to do a crossover. And then move a space. Team purple to do our ability of a draft. Then move 2 spaces, 1 and 2. All right. So we're going to roll our dice again. All right, 1, 3, 4, a couple 6s and a 5. We're going to spin 2 6s for move 2. 1, 2. Then place out our tokens. Got a 6 there and 2 4s. Then team black wants to move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Team orange wants to move 1 spot. Team red wants to do a special ability of move 2, then it wants to move 1. So 1, 2, and 1 more. Team blue wants to draft twice, then move a spot, which is going to help us because he's got to move us in front. So 1, 2. And he's got nowhere to move forward, so he's going to push. So blue always has a random die roll of 2. White has a 3. And we rolled a 6, so there's no consequence with the pushing into the risk test. Team yellow wants to draft and use their special ability, so just picking that vehicle. Special ability wants to draft first. And I'll shuffle. And see what's going on after car yellow. Yellow team or white team wants to do a crossover. So I'm going to swap with purple. And because of the race ability, move up 1 more. It wants to go out here on this track. And then team purple to do its ability of drafting. No vehicles in front of it, so it's going to pick the 1 vehicle behind it, which is us. Pull us along. Then it's going to move 1 space. And back to our turn. All right, we've got 4 dice left. 2, 2, and a 4, 4. I'm going to do a re-roll. We'll flip that over. All right, now we've got a 2, 3, 3, and a 6. I think we'll spin the 3s, which will move these down. We get to move 1, so it's, do we think purple's going to draft us or this guy's going to push us? We're going to go in front of the yellow car and see what happens. Then we get a 6 over here, so that's going to give them 2 6s and red in space 1. Then our non-player drivers Team Black is moving 3. 1, 2, and 3. Team Orange is moving 1. Team Red wants to side draft, which puts him back a space. Team Blue moving 2. 1, 2. Team Yellow wants to cross over. Well, that's not what we wanted. Swapping spaces with us, then moving 1. Team White wants to draft. It's got no one to draft with, so then going on to its special ability, which is a crossover, which isn't going to help it. So since it's not doing an action, it's just going to move 1 space. Team Purple wants to do its ability of drafting. No one to draft with, so it's going to move 1, and it's going to move 1 more. All right. Back to our turn. Got a 3 and a 4. Really need to get a 1 here soon. We're going to go for, well, we'll go into for a crew chief so we can move 1. We're going to move in front of Black. No, we'll make it blue. Then we can retrieve a die from another action space or draw a crew chief card. We're going to retrieve another die back. Then place out these, so 2. And a red 1, so that's going to move up to first place. Then on to our actions. Team Black wants a side draft and then their special ability. No one to side draft with. Special ability is just moving 2. 1, 2 keeps it in this, but it would prefer to draft somewhere, so it's going to move to that direction. Orange, special ability is a side draft. No one to do that with, so it's going to move up 2 spaces. Team Red wants to draft and then move 2. So draft, and 1, 2. Team Blue wants to do a crossover, which is what people keep doing to us. Then it wants to move 1. So it's just going to push forward. And our non-player drivers do not roll the risk factors or tests. Team Yellow wants to draft. Team White wants to do a crossover, which is going to let it move a space and then move 1 more space. Team Purple just moving a space up. And that's going to end this round. We've got 2 dice left. 3 and a 1. 3 gives us a move, but we're going into the pit stop, which will flip this over and prevent us from getting a hazard later. But we're probably not going to get any help and end up in last place here. All right, doing this again. So 3s, they're going to move up. Red 4. All right, Team Black wants to draft. If we could have been 1 spot up, well, it still wouldn't have helped us. Team Orange wants to side draft and can't, so just moving 1 space. Team Red wants to draft twice and can't. So it's going to just move 1 space. And shuffle these. All right, Team Blue moving 2. So 1 and 2. Team Yellow wants to draft and can't, so it's just going to move one space. Team White, crossover, no one to do that with, moving up a spot. Team Purple, drafting twice, moving up a space. So 1, 2, bringing them along, and ends up there. All right, our final die, getting a 5, which isn't going to do anything for us. And kind of want that in case we get some hazard cards, but I do at least want to move up. So we got a 2. So crossover, side draft, then move one. Can't do any of those, so we're just going to move one space. Do this for the final time. So 4, double 5s. And the last time we're doing our rolling phase with black is moving 3. 1, 2, 3. Orange moving 1. Red side drafting. It's not going to affect anything, so it's just going to move a space. Blue wants to side draft, no one to side draft with. Special ability is move 1 and then draft. So to move over 1 and draft with him. Team Yellow wants to do special ability, which is a draft. Then move 2, so it's going to draft with purple. And then 1, 2. Team White wants to do a crossover, and then it's going to do the special ability move and one more move. So crossover, moves up there and then back in front. Team Purple, just moving 1. All right. So now we're going to go through each of our actions here and distribute cards. Unfortunately, third place gets nothing, but at least we're not getting a hazard card. So these are useless. We're in first place here. So we get to choose which one we want. Hazard with a 4 and a side draft. Or 3. All right. I think we'll take the side draft to see if I can get next to someone and move them back further. Then over here, since I'm not in first place, the highest card is going to get discarded. Then I'll get to choose. We got 2 4s, so just get rid of that one. And then we're going to take the 4 for work the pack. And then we're in second place here, so the highest card gets discarded. Definitely the 6. We're going to take the 5 and hope we can set up a clean air where we're already set up for that. So if there's nothing within 2 spaces straight ahead of us, we just get to move 2 spaces. Then we didn't place here at all. Wait, if you did not win a priority position, we did there. Here we get nothing. And over here, we're in first space. So 6 with a side draft or 6 with a crossover. And because of the ability here, we're going to take the 6 with a crossover. All right, so since we have 4 cards, we do not get any of those dealt to us. We do have 3 hazards, though. So we're going to roll these and hope we don't get any 1s. We got 1 1, so we are getting a hazard. And that's going to let us know we can put that in any spot. If we didn't have this, a dial or die in there, it'd get even worse for us. And it's not going to affect our movement, but basically anytime we have a hazard on one of our dice, we are going to lose our ability at the bottom. So is it going to be crossover, clean air, work the pack, or side draft? All right, so now what we need to do is put these in order to see how we want to use them. I definitely want to start with clean air because I know we're going to get an extra 2 out of that. And just the way the cards are lining up to get our extra bonus, if we set them up like this, we've got the checkered flags here and here, so that's going to get us an extra 4 at the end. And I think we're going to put this over the side draft. All right, so now for our final phase, we get to go first. Clean air. There's nothing in here, so we move up 2 spaces, and we've got a movement of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I guess white and yellow have lapped, so they are up in first place. Now black is going to go next, so now we're looking on the bottom, and he's just moving a straight 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Team orange wants to move 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Team red is going to use his power, which is moving 2, then move 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Team blue moving 3. 1, 2, 3. And forgot the black. Went to the next lap. All right, team yellow, use its powers. So it's got a draft and a side draft and then a 6. So drafting, going to push these forward. Then what's a side draft? No one to do that with. And then moving 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So did pretty good there for yellow. White, moving 4, and then wants to do a crossover. So 1, 2, 3, 4. No one to cross over with. Team purple just moving 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So now we're doing 6 with a crossover. We still have a free crossover if we want. And I think we're going to go ahead and do that right now. During the thunder phase, do a crossover. Just going to do that. We get a movement of 1. Then we're moving 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, team black wants to draft. No one to draft with, so then just moving 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll shuffle and see what the rest of the drivers are going to end up doing. Hopefully drafting us along. All right, team orange is 3 in a side draft. Nope. So 1, 2, or 1, 2, and 3. And no one to side draft with. Team red is going just 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Team blue moves 4. And then after that 4, if it's in 7th or 8th place, it moves another 4. But it's not going to be, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in 6th place. Team yellow wants to move 5 and do its ability. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Its ability is draft and then side draft. Just going to pull orange up. Team white is just moving 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Team Purple wants to do its ability, which is a draft. Then move 1 and 3 more. 1, 1, 2, 3. Okay, moving on. So this means we don't get our ability of the side draft, just movement of 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then Team Black, movement of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to just push all these up. Team Orange wants to side draft, no one to affect. So then it's going to move 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, Team Red wants to do its ability, which is movement of 2, and then it's got another 6, so Red is moving 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Team Blue wants to draft. Well, actually, moves 1 first, then draft, no one to do that with, then moving 3. 1, 2, 3. Team Yellow wants to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing to draft, no side draft abilities. Team White is just a movement of 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then Team Purple is just moving 4. So it's going to push us at least to 1, 2. Purple is a die roll of 5. We got a 3, so we're fine. So 3 and 4. And one more round here. So for us, we've got a work the pack with a movement of 4. So working the pack, before or after moving, exchange places with an adjacent car up to 3 times. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and exchange once. Now I have to double check. Feel like I probably missed someone moving here. We'll finish everything else out. So Black wants to move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Orange wants to draft, then move 4. So that's going to push us up. Then 1, 2, 3, 4. Then red, move 4 and 2, so 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Team Blue is just moving 3. 1, 2, 3. Team Yellow wants to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Team White just moving 3. 1, 2, 3. And shuffle. And we've got one more card movement. Team Purple is moving 6, which is going to put it right there. So basically with our bonuses, we've got a match up here and here, so we have 4 more movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, purple did move up. Let me double check all those tokens and see where they're supposed to be before I do the final tally here. All right, so checking the replay, basically blue, red, and orange were the only ones that made it through one full lap. Everyone else made it through the second lap. So going back around from there, red got lapped, blue got lapped. That puts us in first place, followed by yellow, and orange was lapped. Then we've got black and purple, going with the inner line there with those. Then white, and coming back through this direction here. So that's going to be your placement if you were doing a season. Down here, you've got scoring points. So first place gets 12, second 10, third 9, fourth 8, fifth gets 7 points, sixth gets 6 points, seventh gets 5 points, and eighth place gets 4 points. So that's a quick race showing the basics of how to play Thunder Rolls. Just quick impressions. I'll let you know, I'm not a huge NASCAR fan. I thought this was an interesting game. Been a fan of a lot of Richard Launius's games, so picked up on this. So I think if you're into the NASCAR or stock racing, this is definitely going to be more thematic for you. I do believe this is more fun for me anyway, with other people around the board, not so much in a solo mode, but wanted to give you an idea of how to play. So as always, hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.